invocation. I don't see anybody here that will do an invocation, but if we could stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll ask let's ask Laura Martinez to lead us in the pledges when we get to it, okay? Just stand for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Thank you. Laura?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
I'm waiting for you to take the lead. Thank you, Laura.
I had the...
Nobody has signed up for public comment, so I assume we don't have any. Okay, I'm going to take two items out of order at the request of people that have an interest in this. Item 19. Consideration approval of contract between Cameron County and Rio Grande Valley Health Services District for healthcare services. Yvette, that's your item.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. Legal counsel and I, at this time, we'd like to table this item. However, I know that Dr. Varela and Father Jerry are here, and they said that they would like to talk to the court, so if we can just recognize them.
That's fine.
Good morning, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the court and certainly appreciate getting reshifted on the agenda so that my schedule is accommodated. First of all, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak. And secondly, being my first visit to this beautiful building, I compliment you on it and would love to come back under other circumstances. My name is Dr. Linda Villarreal. I'm an internist from Edinburgh and presently the chairman of the board for the Health Services District. My purpose for being here is to ask the court to consider, reconsider, or at least study a little bit further the existence, continued existence, or perhaps no further existence of the Health Services District. Cameron County presently is in a very unique situation right now where they could, in essence, continue the Health Services District as a one-county Health Services District. That will probably be the only time in perhaps my lifetime that we are able to take advantage of this statute. The statute, of course, requires that two counties participate in a Health Services District for it to exist. But based on Hidalgo County's withdrawal, the stipulation on the same statute indicates that the single county remaining can continue as a one-county Health Services District. You might want to ask, why would you want to? Well, why not? The whole purpose of the Health Services District is to hopefully accomplish the same mission that the court and the commissioners are trying to do, and certainly Valley Baptist Hospital is trying to do in optimizing the delivery of health care to the indigent population of your region. The Rio Grande Valley Health Services District was created to develop some form of perhaps out-of-the-box process to deliver health care to the indigent population, which has unfortunately, with no blame to anyone, been falling short of delivering that health care to our population. We are still following a process that has been in existence, I know, in Hidalgo County for over 20 years, and needless to say, into two-thirds of the fiscal year, we run out of money. So the idea is to create a system, perhaps even utilizing the same funds, and optimize the delivery of health care and incorporate preventive medicine, cancer screening, and case management. Those three entities really have actually been at the bottom of the list of 10 things to do simply because we never got to them, again, because of running out of the money that is allotted to that budget. So I am not here to say that you should not proceed and contract or develop a system, a program, or a partnership with any entity and maximize federally matching funds through a UPL system. I'm simply here to ask you to reconsider the continued existence of the Health Services District, because it would be one more tool that you have to your availability. It does not commit you to anything other than contracting with the Health Services District. And that board is composed of people from the community that have absolutely no hidden agendas and no other purpose of existing and serving on that board other than helping politicians, helping employees, helping those individuals that are perhaps in charge of the monies to optimize a program that will improve the delivery of that health care. To not renew the contract to the Health Services District will then, in fact, kill it off. And then you lose the opportunity not to be recreated again until the legislature decides to come up with another statute, or you can actually partner with another county to create a two-county system or some other form. But right now you have a vehicle that you could continue to use at your pleasure for whatever the purpose, and the only caveat to it is, of course, to renew that contract. That does commit your indigent care fund, but it's a partnership with all of us going and trying to accomplish the same thing. And so I ask the court to consider renewing that contract and allowing you an additional vehicle to use for the best purpose in optimizing a program, partnering with whomever to increase the funds available for the delivery of health care. In the contract that is being considered for UPL and Valley Baptist, the very first paragraph says that there will be a creation of a health services determination. My assumption is that that is that third-party entity that needs to be created when you partner with another entity for UPL matching federal funds. The Health Services District can still function as that health services determination, partnering with other entities or with the Commissioner's Court or with your program that currently exists. So whatever vehicle you ultimately decide to proceed with to optimize the delivery of health care to the indigent population, the mission of the Rio Grande Valley Health Services District has always been the same thing. So I would ask the court to seriously consider renewing the contract with the Rio Grande Valley Health Services District, and that will allow you your options. To not renew, you simply destroy that option and have no other vehicle other than a new creation by the Valley Baptist Hospital affiliates. Having said all of that, my position on the board will cease as of August the 31st of 2007 because I am one of the Hidalgo County board members, and Hidalgo County will no longer be part of this district at the end of business August 31st. I'm not really smiling, that was just a smirk. But the mission of the board and the mission of the district has always been to create a new system for our region, and our region extends from Brownsville to Roma. It is not geographically cut up into pieces anymore, and as a practicing physician I can tell you that in McAllen and Edinburgh I see patients from Brownsville and Harlingen and Olmito. So if we can start thinking of this area as a region, then you can actually utilize the district as a vehicle to assist you in your mission. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and you listening.
Any questions? Doctor, I'd like to say,
That's okay, go ahead.
having attended some of your meetings and knowing the passion that you have and the other board members have on that board, it's refreshing to see people that are appointed to boards with that much passion and that great deal of zest that you all represent and show at your meetings. And I'm sure throughout your process of when you're working on items and issues and bringing things up, that you continue to do that. And I certainly appreciate your efforts and your work on that district that you've put into it for these so many years, and so thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Villarreal, I just want to let you know that since I came on board, we have been approaching different issues, and by doing so, we were approaching it as a region. Transportation matters, coastal matters, and I look forward to hopefully working with the board to continue with the Health Services District so that we can address the health issues in our area as a region. And I appreciate your coming forward and also spending some time with me about a month ago to explain the function of the UPL and also the Health Services District. Thank you.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Well, our main concern is being able to provide services for our indigent population. And you do have a passion, and I've been in sessions, I've heard you speak, and I'm moved by your passion, as the other commissioners have said. The bottom line is, as a court, we have some very difficult decisions to make, and at the bottom line is we have to make sure that our decisions are based on, and you have the same feeling, what's the best way to serve that population. And I can assure you that I, for one, and I'm sure the rest of the court feels the same way, we need to really think this out very, very carefully and make sure that that happens, and that we move forward and not backwards with our decisions. And thank you for being here early this morning.
Thank you. One last comment. If you renew the contract, at any time you can always serve notice, just like Hidalgo County did, and pull out. If you don't renew the contract, that's the end of it in 2 weeks. So the idea here is to maximize all options, utilize all tools, and then you can make some more decisions. But we're, in essence, in a deadline, and if you are not quite ready to make a lot more decisions, this to me would be an easy one to do, to renew, and then at a later date, if this is something you don't want to do anymore, that gives you a whole lot more time. So, thank you again very much. Father Jerry Frank is also here. I don't know if he wanted to add any comments.
The staff has recommended that we table this item, I guess for them to continue studying it, I guess. Do I hear a motion to table?
Motion to table.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo to table item 19. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gatsa.
May I address it a little bit?
Any further discussion?
Yes, sir, please. As Dr. Villarreal was leaving the podium, she indicated there's a timeline, and we're not just talking about, and I don't believe she was just talking about the timeline that the county has for our budgetary process, but actual timeline for the existence of the Health Services District. If they're going to continue to exist, they have to make a publication of their budget 10 days prior to the new fiscal year for them, which the new fiscal year starts September 1, I believe, based on the state fiscal years, and that's according to statute. So they have to get some things in order and put in place if they're going to continue to exist. So I think, we tabled it last week, and we need to make some kind of decision as to whether or not we want to continue with them. And I think that they can provide us a real great service by continuing to operate. But if we continue to table it, they're going to die, I guess, a natural death, or maybe an unnatural death, I'm not sure. I think we need to take action on it one way or the other so they know which direction they're going to be going.
I thought I saw a published budget.
They published a proposed budget.
Who would be able to answer that question?
We did based on timeline and deadline.
Right.
Published and a proposed budget.
Right.
Kind of a rough draft of the duplicating some of our budgetary items, line items that are on our previous budget.
What was the budget?
I'm sure you know.
Not included.
What would the difference be between your proposed budget and your actual budget?
Well, right now, the proposed budget actually involves the salary items mostly, the capital funds that are transferred from county to county. And since officially, Hidalgo County is still part of the district, that was included as well. So the actual final budget will change considerably based on the
Well,
They also had advertised for RFPs for some proposals to provide health service in the county, in Cameron County, and they're holding up any action on finalizing those, which would be funds that they currently hold, tobacco monies, that would go toward, I think, about 4 or 5 different agencies, the county being one of those agencies who applied for some of the funding, and they,
we've
they
got,
need to act on
our
it.
next meeting is on the 21st, other than tomorrow. So the 21st is a 10-day deadline that we could provide if we need to. And I'm still trying to gather information from our staff to figure out what the upside and downside is to continuing this health services district. I'm not sure. I know you've expressed what the upside is, but what's the downside to not keeping it? And how does it affect our contract or potential contract with Valley Baptist? So I'm hoping that this week, Yvette and Dilbia will come together and finally come up with a recommendation on Tuesday of next week, the 21st. I've long said that, you know, whatever they're going to recommend is the direction that I'd like to go. I'm not familiar enough with health care and services, and we have to rely on our folks. To me, right now, everything has changed since Hidalgo pulled out. The concept of the health services district is not what it was 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. It's changed now. And all I see is a layer of bureaucracy that, I mean, you published a proposed budget. I don't know how much that budget was. I didn't see it.
It wasn't in our background.
Of $500,000
Here's a copy from the paper.
from the paper, $500,000 that
590, actually. 590,000.
590, okay, 500, almost $600,000 that could be used for indigent health care, but we're using it for administrative costs. So, having said that, I think on the 21st that Yvette, hopefully by that time you and Dilbia will have a solid recommendation, and if, you know, it is what it is, okay? I had a motion, I'm sorry.
I'd like to, at this time, make a comment. The other issue that we have is, I don't know, I guess there was resolution reached with Hidalgo County in regards to what they're going to fund with their share of the monies that are going back to the county, or so I heard, you know. There is absolutely no reason why the same could not occur with us. I would rather fund deliverable services than administration. I know that, you know, I asked the auditor for some information in regards to expenditures, and in the last year, you know, we've had close, maybe well over $200,000 worth of either contractual expenditures, salaried expenditures, or consultant expenditures. $200,000 in Cameron County dollars usually is enough to buy us $2 million in state funds, okay? And I have a concern utilizing money that could go to direct impact of the indigent versus administration. The Health Services District has been operational since 2000, basically, you know, or 2001. We've seen what has occurred in the last 5 or 6 years with the Health Services District. I think that one of the things that was accomplished was that monies were and will be received by the State Center in Harlingen for a major renovation. A lot of what occurred and what we have before us and what happened in the 76 Texas legislature occurred as a result of the state suggesting that they wanted to close that hospital. What occurred in this last legislative session has infused a significant amount of money for that and also for the drug rehab center in Hidalgo County. And those are major initiatives, and I know that the Health Services District deserves some credit for helping in making sure that those assets were protected and brought back to the area. But as far as continual existence, you know, I have a hard time seeing the amount of dollars being spent for consultants and for administration with no deliverable services to the indigent, which is what the intent of the organization is. There is no reason why, absolutely no reason why, and I visited with a couple of legislators. As the Health Services District exists today, there's no state funds associated with it. It's funded by our 8% monies, period.
And we knew that would happen.
Yeah, and there's no reason why, though, that if next legislative session, we wanted a tool to utilize, or we wanted a health services district for this county, we could not get support of our legislators in helping us put it together for Cameron County, if it goes away now, because there's no money associated with it. And if it were to be reformed in the same manner, there'd be no money associated with it, so they don't have a problem giving us things without any money. They give us lots of things with money. On the contrary, they normally give us things that cost us money, this being one of them, and taking away from deliverable indigent services. And it makes it hard for me to justify the continual existence of an organization, and I think the judge said it best, you know, it's just another layer of bureaucracy that we have to justify. If the $200,000 that were spent last year would have brought us $2 million in deliverables, I'd be the first here saying, let's go for it and keep going. But I have a lot of reservations because that has not happened, even with the cooperation of our neighbors next door in Hidalgo County. And it's difficult, you know. I mean, we've tried to have meetings as a unit with them and us, and we have not been able to have a meeting in the last 5 years that I know of, you know. So those are just some of the concerns that I have.
I have a comment, but let's hear from Father first.
Commissioner Garza, what a metamorphosis you've experienced in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Remember our conversation when you were hailing the potential of a health district and garnering future funds, and the possibility of having it. I've tried repeatedly to meet and talk and engage in conversations about the health district. Judge, you know that. I've called you many times. Last time you had your legal counsel call back and explain, you know, something about legal matters, but it's hard to get a meeting with you all on this. Now, in light of the comment that we spent $200,000 last year, we've been spending money, we had a big plan being proposed that took professional consultation when we thought that both counties were in, and we had a plan that would have really revolutionized health care delivery to the indigent were it realized. But politics got in the way. Politics in Hidalgo County, primarily. And now you're talking about our proposed budget, and Judge, you mentioned that, oh man, all this money that's going not to the indigent but to administration. Well, you couldn't be more wrong. Because look at the proposals that we have before us now, about 7 of them. That's where the bulk of the money is going to go in those grants. We're downsizing, and we will completely downsize as a single county health district. Our staffing will be most minimal.
Father, with all due respect, let me ask you, if what was posted in the newspaper, if not your administrative budget, what was posted? What was publicized?
We needed to do that legally.
No, I understand that, but
and as was suggested, it's a proposed budget. It was something we needed to get in order to meet legal deadlines. That's not what our budget as a single county health district is going to look like at all. I can assure you that that all the expenses would be tremendously downsized, and the bulk of the monies that we dispense, being your tobacco monies, will go directly to help indigent health care or nonprofit agencies deliver those services.
Well, and again, I'm only going by what I've read. So is this budget 50% overstated? 30%? What is it?
To be honest with you,
Nobody knows.
to be honest with you, I haven't even seen the budget.
Well,
We had to get it out, and
I understand that.
And you, sir,
I understand that.
You, sir, have confiscated the accounting books, and one of the reasons why we had to delay so long is because the money wasn't available to pay for the publication of the budget.
Wait a minute, and I'm not going to get into a debate here over this, but I did not confiscate any books.
Well,
No, please.
we have a contract with the fiscal agent,
Well,
Judge.
but it was...
And the fiscal agent...
But I had nothing to, no, you had a contract, the county auditor's office decided to turn over the books. I had nothing to do with that. I just, you know, and I think...
It was my understanding that you asked for those
That's not true.
things to be brought to your office. But
Well,
anyway,
yeah, because they were going to pull out. We had nowhere else to send them. When I got notified by the auditor's office that they were no longer going to be the fiscal...
who made that decision on the auditor's office, sir?
I got called by Mark Yates.
Mark Yates is... Mark Yates.
That's correct.
He's still the acting
Well,
director.
he's on administrative leave, and then Rob delivered those items to our office, and then I had them sent over to Yvette's office to deliver to you all. With the Cameron County, the auditor, please keep in mind, Father, that the auditor is basically a separate division within Cameron County. They are the fiscal agent. They decided to pull out. I don't know if they needed our permission to do it or not, but they did. Secondly, I have never not met with you all as a group. What I don't like doing is talking to individual members over the phone call about a contract, because that's what, you know, I did ask Dilbia, you know, if it's about the contract, what's coming up, call. I just don't like that. But I don't think we've ever had a problem meeting when you've tried to schedule a meeting. That's fine.
Well, we met, and we talked about this
Well, you just said that we
contract.
hadn't,
And we sent you a
met.
letter afterwards signed by our board members.
I understand that.
And we gave you some suggestions. We never heard any input from you.
No, you haven't, because our
Then we
staff
finally
is still
sent
working
you a
on that.
minimalist contract that would allow the health district to continue to exist and allow you to make your contract with Valley Baptist Hospital and do everything else. It was a very minimalist contract in order to survive, because we believe in the potential of the health district to deliver a lot of good services in the future. That wasn't even talked about. And you told me when I was here last time and I intervened that you would call us forth in the future when you deliberated over the Valley Baptist contract. Never heard from you, Judge.
Well, they're still working on that contract, Father. I mean, they're still working on that contract. I don't know how much input y'all would like to have, but I would like for y'all to have some input in that contract, but that's still a working document.
Well, that's kind of incredible, to be honest with you.
Well, Father, I just asked you about the budget. Didn't have a clue what the budget was. I'm sorry, but...
And I told you what the purpose of that budget is. That budget is not our working paper. Once we become a single county district, we're going to completely downsize, and we're going to use everything we have in order to help nonprofit agencies deliver the services that our people need so badly. And I've said before, you need somebody, and the health district is set up for that purpose, to be a watchdog over how Valley Baptist Hospital administrates these funds. I think you're giving them a blank check. And to me, that's like putting the fox in the chicken coop.
Father, if I may, first of all, I'm not a CPA, but, you know, common sense would tell me, why would you not have a real budget? Why did this budget come out? Why wasn't it the real budget that's...
Legally, the executive secretary tried to put something together between meetings because it was a legal requirement. We're most happy to sit down and work with you on what our real budget will be now or any time into the future, and we'll ensure both sides that it is minimalistic in terms of administrative costs, bureaucratic overlay, and it'll do the job.
Okay, it's just that to me, and I have to give you my reaction. You know, I just can't understand why someone would publish a budget.
Well, we're
that's not
trying so
real.
hard to get the budget out to meet legal requirements, and now you're using the same thing that was so difficult to publish without having available the resources we needed to get it published, using it against us now to demean the health district.
Quick, short response to Commissioner Tamayo is, the last two meetings of the Health Services District, we have had fiscal agent on the agenda for presentation of our budget. They have failed to appear, they have failed to present those budget items for us. So I appreciate the judge's comments that our contract is with the Auditor's Office of Cameron County, who years back contracted with the district to serve as our fiscal agent. But they have not been present at our last two meetings for obvious reasons, as I'm sure you know. So we have basically had to collect data on our own based on history, our historical data. So that is why we don't have a real budget right now. The fiscal agent has failed to show up at our meetings.
Okay. Now, and Father, as far as being, you referred to having a watchdog. Now, as I try and internalize all this information I've been getting and truly trying to come up with the best solution and my best vote to my best knowledge that I have before me, I too am concerned about having a watchdog if we go on with Valley Baptist. Whether it's you or whether it's I'm coming up with a word grievance committee, and it has to do, and I've discussed this with Yvette. And I think I'm not out of order. Hope legal doesn't shut me up right now. But I'm going to, it is related. It is related, the fact that they're here today, and what I have to say is related to the contract with Valley Baptist. I have voiced my opinion to Yvette, to Valley Baptist, that we must have the final say-so on appeals.
Yeah, but from all appearances, Valley Baptist is dictating this contract. It'll be a blind check once it's written, and you know, they're calling all the shots. They're writing the contract. They're putting the terms out there, and all you're going to do is respond to it. Judge, you said you wanted to table this thing so that you could get a recommendation from your staff. Are you talking about Yvette primarily?
And legal.
And legal.
Correct.
Father,
that's really your honest to God position? You're waiting for those two persons to give you a legal an opinion, and on that basis you're going to make your decision?
Unless you can find somebody that's better qualified that can do
No,
that.
that's fine with me. I just as long as they're politically unencumbered and coming to their recommendation, I'm happy with it.
Well, I think you can. Yvette is standing two people behind you, and you can ask her if I've asked her, or even legal, and I'll step out of the room if you'd like, and they can answer you if I've tried to influence this contract anyway. My issue is just, let's do what the best thing is to deliver health care to the indigent population of Cameron County. That's it. I have not looked at the contract, I've not seen the contract, and it's a working document with them, but I have not tried to talk to anyone about influence.
Well, I want to believe you, Judge.
Father, I think you're bordering on insulting this court. I, for one, feel insulted with your remarks. Perhaps you're not directing them at me, but you're directing it at somebody up here. I will do what's best for that indigent population. I have been having input. I have been questioning Yvette, and I'm sure that everybody else has too. This is a major decision we'll be making. And I truly feel offended
I don't want
with
to,
your remark.
I don't want to insult you.
I'm not going to let anybody railroad me into anything,
right.
including Valley Baptist or anybody else.
Okay, and I don't want to insult you. I just want to challenge you to maintain transparency and openness as you proceed,
I think
along
that
these lines.
I'm going to have to make some comments in regard to this. I've waited for the Health Services District to give me a deliverable. I've waited. From the very beginning, I've been one of your strongest supporters. I've suggested programs. There's legislation that has been passed that has not been utilized, that could have been utilized by the Health Services District in developing partnerships with the state. As far as I'm concerned, none of that has occurred. I believe very strongly that we, as a Commissioner's Court, can lead some of that and do some things that will give deliverables to us. Right now, we've got a broken system. Right now, we have a system that 7 months into the year, our indigent population is not being served. Those residents that each one of us has in our precincts are turned away from service at doctor's offices, at pharmacies, chemo, and everything else, okay? We're not doing that. An opportunity with the UPL agreements has come up that will give us minimally year-round service to the eligible residents. To me, that's almost a 100% improvement on what we're doing now, with zero cost to this county. Zero. No administrative cost, no legal fees, no fiscal agents, no nothing, except us agreeing to turn the 8% money over, okay? Period. That's it. No caveats of who's it, nothing except a deliverable to the indigent. That's what I fight for. I've yet to see that occur. Continuously, the Health Services District has done a lot of bickering. And this is a perception I have, even though I defended it, because I believe that the mission that it had could work and help, but it has not.
That might be insulting if you think about it. That's one perspective.
A whole lot, give me a deliverable that the Health Services District has given the residents of Cameron County.
You've had people tremendously committed.
No, I'm not talking about commitment. I'm committed to the indigent. Every time we've had an opportunity since I've been on this Commissioner's Court, every single time that we've been able to access funds through those people's tax dollars, through their tax dollars, because we've gone to the surplus, we've raided any account we have that we can get money from to bring in more dollars from the state and leverage on a 9-to-1 basis. We've done it. This Commissioner's Court, not once in 7 years that I've been here, have not committed dollars to help the indigent in more than the 8%. More than the 8%. Other than the 8%, we've given up monies in a lot of other departments to commit to the indigent care of the population that we have.
What I was saying is a lot of people for a long period of time have dedicated a lot of energy and effort to make this thing happen. Politics, and if you really look at the history of this thing and study it carefully, you'll see that politics was its ruin, not the commitment nor the competence of the people in the Health Services District Board. And all I can say again is, I remember our conversation and how you hailed the potential of the health district when you still knew that Valley Baptist Hospital was coming in with the contract and everything else. And all I can say is what a metamorphosis from then to now.
It's not a metamorphosis because the 8% is going to buy us care, okay? The tobacco funds could easily be used to leverage if we just put our minds to it and try to leverage programs. But if the healthcare district goes away, I guarantee you that I'll be the first one to say, let's put these programs together. And I've visited with Yvette on some of the initiatives that I like to see happen in this county that affect 50% of our population out there that needs services for particular major illnesses that exist.
I think Yvette wants to say something, and I don't know if you're going to add more to the...
All I want to do is clarify what Commissioner Garza said. The Health Services District has served as a management company, the very same type of management company that you will have to create once you contract for UPL partnerships. We basically recontracted back with the county and your indigent health care program. So to blame or crucify the Health Services District for not having done anything in the last few years is in essence blaming your own indigent health care department. All we served was as a management entity. The same monies, the same administrative fees, the same programs were those that your county department were doing. Unfortunately, since the creation of the Health Services District, it has been basically hand-tied by the political entities when we were dealing with the $16 million that were afforded to us that in essence created the Health Services District. So again, this, with all due respect to all the commissioners and you, Judge, this is not an adversarial presentation. It was simply a presentation to ask you to consider using one more tool in the difficult decision that you have to make addressing a contract with another hospital, although not-for-profit entity, nevertheless, in the neighborhood. That entity and UPL will still have to create another, quote, not-for-profit health services determination based on the verbiage in the contract. All I'm asking is for you to consider the district being that determination. That creates another tool for you. UPL funds are federally matching fund program. It is a retrospective payment to pay back to the hospitals what they've already spent and didn't get maximum allowable reimbursement. There is no concrete rule with UPL that says that those monies must also be used to add to a program that already exists. That will hopefully be out of the goodness of the entity's heart. Hopefully, 25% of those total funds will be used for an additional new program that the federal government would like to see. Addressing the tobacco funds, those go into general budget. The beauty of the health services district, especially once we became unencumbered by the politicians in the legislature, the tobacco funds could now then be directly utilized for direct patient care. If they go into the county coffer, it can be utilized for a lot of things, perhaps all needed, but the tobacco funds are directly deposited to the health services district, and the health services district is committed to utilizing all of those tobacco funds for delivery of direct patient care. The county, unfortunately, has to deal with many, many issues, health being one of them. The health services district deals with one. Again, this is not an adversarial presentation, simply a request. If I don't ask, if I don't believe in this mission, I won't get anything.
Well, I, for one, and hearing the other commissioners and the judge talk about the ability to grasp and get around the health care needs of the indigent in Cameron County, to me is very difficult because I'm not in the health care field. And I know that the Health Services District has that feel for what needs to be done from your existence and the work you do. And that, to me, would be an extremely important part of our decision to go into any contract with anyone else, having the knowledge that y'all have and the abilities you have to work with us to create what needs to be created for the county. And I think that's very well, and I understand that the budget, and I brought it up, that the budget needed to be published. And I know from attending your last meeting that this was a proposed budget because you were unable to have actual figures that you needed because the county auditor's office wasn't available to provide them. And I'm also surprised that we have a person who's on administrative leave apparently still conducting activities in the county auditor's office.
I
That's
asked Rob,
amazing.
Rob, do you want to come down and address or can you address why the accounting records were taken away? I guess you delivered them.
Well,
Judge,
you just said that
Judge,
Mark
that's okay.
Yates called and told him to do it. That's
Judge,
amazing.
on this budget, I'll be the chairman of the Health District Board for a while if we become a one-county district. I can assure you that whatever budget you write, we will be happy to live with.
Yes, sir.
You write it, we'll live with it.
Are you back?
I just want to give the court a couple of clarifications regarding the Valley Health Service District financial records. Our office picked up the records from the county judge's office the day that they called us. So for the most part, those documents were with us, and we turned around and we asked legal counsel for a clarification. Legal counsel informed me that only the Commissioner's Court had the authority to get out of being the fiscal agent for the Valley Health Service District. So that is the information that I reported to the Valley Health Service District at their last meeting, that Cameron County would continue to be the fiscal agent until the Commissioner's Court decided otherwise. So for the most part, the county judge's office was not in custody of those documents. It was my office or the auditor's office or even legal counsel.
So you're telling me that the letter that was written by our auditor's office, that's signed by Rob, saying that we're no longer the fiscal agent, is not valid?
According to legal counsel, because the contract, you can ask them, they're right there, but the contract is with Cameron County.
That's exactly what you said, and that's what I'm reiterating. You're telling me that.
That's my understanding, but legal counsel's there, perhaps you want to ask them.
And so someone on administrative leave calls the acting auditor and tells him to write a letter, I assume, and that happens, and now we're not reporting and taking care of the
Commissioner,
fiscal responsibility we have to the Health Services District?
Commissioner, I cannot answer that question and what happened with Rob.
It's more a rhetorical comment than asking a
Okay,
question.
you were looking at me, so I thought that you wanted me to
I don't know who else to
respond
look at.
Well, you can ask legal counsel but, that's the information I got from legal counsel. That's what I reported to the Valley Health Service District, that Cameron County would continue to be the fiscal agent. Okay? So, and then secondly, regarding agenda item number 19, I'm going to throw in number 20 as well. After probably 2 or 3 commissioners' courts ago, when Father Jerry was here, Judge Gospos directed me to have Father Jerry and the Valley Health Service District members meet with Valley Baptist Medical Center. After that, the judge called a meeting with Valley Baptist Medical Center representatives, and Dilby was there, I was there. Linda McKenna, Manivela, and maybe a couple of other Valley Baptist representatives were there as well.
Was anyone there from the Health Services District?
No. Okay. So at that meeting, Valley Baptist representatives committed to Judge Gospos that they would meet with the Valley Health Service District members.
And paragraph B1 says, work jointly with the governing body of Cameron County to pursue UPL contracts and resources designed to increase the availability of healthcare services for the indigent. And that's a new contract that we're looking at signing with Health Services District, which to me would seem to be a very reasonable thing to be doing.
Okay, I'm not finished.
I know.
So, the judge directed me to Commissioner's Court, and then, legal counsel, Valley Baptist, and, Dilby and I met with Judge Gospos, and he gave us the same instruction. Valley Baptist Medical Center representatives agreed to meet with Valley Health Service District members. However, they needed to go back with their, the CEO to get better direction, and this is why we're not prepared, for agenda item 20 as well, because they needed to clarify some issues, that was the direction that their chief executive officer wanted to go. So they're more than happy to meet by day. Valley Baptist Medical Center representatives are more than happy to meet with Valley Health Service District members. They just need to get some clarification because they do not want to misrepresent what their intentions are. Now,
you've been involved with the Health Services District since the inception.
Yes,
As a matter of fact, in my opinion, you should have been, the director for the thing, and maybe something would have been done. But that's a different story. And I appreciate what you've done for Cameron County and representing us in trying to make sure that we have a foot in the door. So you would know the answer to the next question I would like to ask you, because you've been there and you've been at the meetings. What is the Health Services District involvement with the UPL contract that Hidalgo County has with the hospitals? I mean, you've seen every agenda that goes through. What is their involvement?
I believe that they are not involved with that project.
Have you ever seen the UPL? No, don't look back.
Okay, I wanted to...
I mean, to your, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I'm looking at the chair to make sure that,
I'm not putting you on the spot, but I try to kind of look at all the agendas that are posted, and I usually get a copy of the agenda so I'll know what's going on. I don't recall ever seeing a discussion on the Health Services District agendas on the Hidalgo County contract with the UPL, payment contracts with Hidalgo County and the hospitals.
I don't believe they have a contractual relationship.
There's no contractual relationship. Okay. Thank you.
I'm not sure, how many hospitals are in Hidalgo County, Yvette? Do you know, 13, 16, something like that? There's a number.
I don't know.
One of those two numbers,
but
it's either 13 or 16.
I would venture to guess maybe
And my
10.
understanding is that every one of those hospitals are involved in the UPL program in Hidalgo County, which is totally different than what Cameron County is looking at. We're looking at one hospital facility, taking the whole pie and doing whatever they want to with it without much oversight. And I believe that the Health Services District could provide us with an extra many sets of eyes to oversee what this one hospital, if the contract goes through, what this one hospital will be doing with about $7.5 million.
It's possible, Commissioner, legal counsel and I, we're still waiting for some clarifications, and that's why at this point, we don't have enough information to proceed with 19 or 20. Agenda item 19 or 20, because we are still waiting for some clarifications. And that has been part of the delay in trying to give the court a recommendation.
As you go forward, Yvette, keep in mind what the many discussions I've had with you on the fact that we want, whether it's a grievance committee, whether it's a health district, I mean, we want to make sure that we have control of that appeals process.
Okay, Commissioner.
And to the best of my knowledge, in regards to what you said, John, hospitals have a choice as to be part of or not be part of the UPL contract. They were all invited.
They weren't invited on an equal basis at all. Now remember, you've said that Valley Regional, which is the other large hospital in the area, was only going to get like 18%
right.
of any input into it.
Yeah, but that's not because Valley
And I think you'll
Baptist
find in
or
Hidalgo County it's totally different.
Yeah,
Because there are 13 or 16 hospitals, there's more entities. And they're all watching each other, and we're not watching anyone.
I beg to differ with you. You know, I think, in the discussions that I've had with Yvette, I think that, the people you're not watching are the people that are not getting service right now. The 5 months of folks that don't get the care they need because we have a problem with one entity running a contract.
That one entity running the contract sends the money back to the county to do the work as a contract.
Because it doesn't belong to the county. I think Dr. Villarreal...
So maybe the county's not running it correctly.
It's best explained by her comments. The county, the money on the UPL agreement comes to the hospitals for money they're owed from the federal government because they get paid at this rate when the Medicare rate is this rate. And it's their money, it's not anybody else's money.
Yeah, but the deal is to use 25%. If you're getting $10 million, that's $2.5 million that you otherwise would not have had to apply directly to new programs for the indigent health care. Excuse me, Commissioner. But to just address the whole issue of the UPL contract with Hidalgo County, as you well know, Hidalgo County has been consistently irreverent with the contract that it has with the Health Services District, has refused annually to refer the tobacco funds to the Health Services District where they belong by statute. That's one contractual transgression. The other one was actually contracting with an entity for UPL because they basically were using 8% of the budget, which legally and by statute belonged to the Health Services District. We were never asked about it, we were never invited, we were never included in the discussion. But to just kind of put the cherry on the top here and conclude my comments is that I actually was looked right in the eye by the attorney who arranged the contract with UPL in Hidalgo County. And he said to me, and this is a direct quote, "There will not be one additional patient served by these UPL funds," unquote. That's all I need to say about UPL in Hidalgo County. They got a management fee. I'm not going to even tell you what that management fee is, but it's certainly not anything close and exceeds that proposed budget that Judge Koskis was concerned about. So, again, not an adversarial presentation, Commissioners. I simply want to allow you to continue an option that still gives you some choices. Cease and desist the Health Services District within 2 weeks of its end is one less tool that you have. It doesn't force you to make any decisions. It simply renews it. If you want to get out of it, so be it. But if you let it die, you have no choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. It may not have started adversarial, but I get the impression or the feeling that it kind of ended up that way, and I think that was not the purpose, and I hope no one takes offense by anything. I think, as you can see, Father, that there's a lot of strong emotions, not only from you all that have given your blood, sweat, and tears to the district, but also amongst members of the court. And I believe that a lot of it just stems from, at least from, I'll speak for myself, not being familiar enough with how all this process works. I just wrote a note, and I showed it to Commissioner Gatz, I showed it to Commissioner Wood. Cameron County, and this may be a legal question, but even though Cameron County has to give the authority to somebody to not to be the fiscal agent anymore, can we obligate or force the county, regardless of who's giving the directive, can we force or ask the county auditor's office to continue being the fiscal agent?
Well, right now, Judge, it kind of begs the question, because the contract that is in existence with between the county and the district for the auditor to be the fiscal agent is unexecuted, and our minute clerk has not been able to locate any minute where it was ever approved. So they've been acting as fiscal agent, but there's no contract in place to start with.
Okay, just so I understand, so the county auditor's office has been the fiscal agent, but there is no contract between...
There's no executed contract.
Well, if it's not executed, then there is no contract.
That's correct. There is no
contract between the auditor's office and the Health Services District, nor between Cameron County and the Health Services District?
That's correct.
So there is no contract?
No. There's a document, I want to make it clear, there's a document that says contract, that lays out, and it's between Cameron County and the district, but it's not executed by the county.
And it's never been on the agenda for approval, even though it's never been signed, but has the Commissioner's Court in the past approved that?
No.
So really, the auditor's office, whomever it is, has, I guess, has the legal right to turn over the records, I mean, if there's no contract? I mean, I'm just saying that we... Well, hold on, Mr. Octaviano, please. I need to hear from our attorney to make sure, because I want to, and then you can interject. But the question is there or is there not one or two contracts, whatever contracts there are, between Cameron County and the Health Services District that identifies Cameron County as the fiscal agent, signed and executed, or approved by this Commissioner's Court?
Okay, there is no contract that we've been able to locate and that the minute clerk has been able to find approval for in the minutes after the establishment of the district.
Okay.
Where the county has approved and signed a contract to be the fiscal agent for the district. There is none. There is a document, but it's not executed.
Okay. Dr. Villarreal, do you have something that contradicts that?
Before you do that, Dr. Villarreal, Richard, do you recall the terms of compensation that the Health Services District was paying the county for providing fiscal agent services? Was there any compensation there?
Yes. I really don't have, I don't know, we have the document. I don't recall, I don't know.
So if they've been paying the county to provide a service, then even absent a contract somewhere, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have had something signed, but absent of a contract, they've been providing the service, they've been getting paid for providing the service, and they have been providing the service up until recently. Is that?
Well, that's possible. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that.
Doctor, do you happen to know any specifics about the compensation to the county for serving as fiscal agents?
We'll get it.
And I think I understand that. So, and the only reason that I asked the question because Father Jerry suggested in not so friendly terms that I had confiscated records, and I wanted to be very clear that I didn't confiscate anything. They were just turned over.
Okay.
And now we're finding out that there's no contract even to do this, and I apologize for the misunderstanding, but I did not...
I accept that, Judge.
Okay, I didn't request anything. I mean, it just...
I'd like to add something to that, though, if we become a single county health district, we will be more than happy to follow your recommendation on who our fiscal agent should be and let you write our budget again. I want to also go back to the conclusion of our relationship with Hidalgo County, which ended very amicably. Everybody saved face, and everything turned out beautifully, we might say, if you follow the news over there. And I want to say something also about why we don't have a consortium of hospitals applying for upper payment limits in this county, like happened in Hidalgo County. Valley Regional was invited to be a participant and to make a consortium. They declined the invitation, and I don't want to go into the reasons. You might suspect what they might be, but they declined. And so, you know, again, I go back to that analogy, which might be a little bit offensive, fox in a chicken coop, monopolizing all the healthcare possibilities that are there. But I think we need to defend our healthcare providers in totality, and especially the recipients of healthcare services, and that's where the district could come in and be very useful to you.
Well, I would hope that, and we'll conclude this, but I would hope that that is the positioning that Ms. Salinas and Ms. Jeffries is doing. Make sure that the county's protected, making sure that we do maximize services to our indigent. And I really don't think, I mean, and this is, like I said, this is a passionate issue for a lot of us. But it shouldn't be one where we just totally disrupt each other and argue and fight over something like this, because I think we all want to do what is best for the county and make sure that we deliver, as much health care to the indigent population as we can. And I think that, I think Commissioner Benavides, if I'm not mistaken, her area is probably the largest, then unfortunately the largest recipient of indigent health care, just because of the size of her precinct. And we all want to do what is best to maximize those dollars. And it's, I don't know what happened politically over the years other than what I've read and my concerns, and this is not what I believe to be a political decision. And I understand about, the budgetary process, but even if it's $200,000 and not the $590,000, it's still $200,000 that we could utilize someplace else.
It will be what you decide.
Zero.
That's our offer. And $200,000, we're talking about grants back to the nonprofits. Now, that's helping our indigent. Don't say that that's administrative monies. I want to apologize for my lack of grace and charm in presenting what I passionately feel.
Father, you're a priest, and you can be forgiven for almost just about anything, so. Okay.
Father, I'd like to make a comment. This is the second time that I'm reminded that the majority of the indigent live in my area, and so therefore I had even asked Yvette, and she provided me some numbers. And it does show that half of the funds are utilized by people in my area. And that is why I asked that we speak to Valley Baptist and get a commitment from them to see additional patients. And all the questions that I referred to them, I got a no. Why can't they? They're using our monies for our people, and they will not commit to seeing 5%, 3%, whatever it is. Why not?
Isn't it based on eligibility and not so much the numbers? I mean, don't you have...
We've got more eligible than we've got numbers attending. That's...
Yeah, but don't they have to sign up or register or something to that? Yvette, do you want to address why that is?
You have to go through an eligibility process in order to be enrolled in the indigent program.
So if you lowered it, okay, If
Well-
you lowered it to allow more people to come and become eligible for it, let's say you went that route,
Commissioner Benavides, we're currently seeing the group that the state mandates us to. So the 21% federal poverty level is set by the state. So that's the minimum that Cameron County can see. And that's what Cameron County has been seeing for years.
So if just to answer, or address Commissioner Benavides' concern, if the eligible population signs up or registers, if it's twice that, is Valley Baptist, are they gonna say, no, we're only gonna look at 1,200? Or will they see anyone that is eligible? Because the way it makes it sound is they're not willing to look to provide a service to anyone else, but that's not my understanding. My understanding is they will provide services to those folks that are eligible to have services. Is that not right?
The eligibility process dictates who's enrolled in the indigent program.
But they're not cutting, my question is, if you have a 20% spike in eligible recipients, they're not gonna turn them away.
No, Judge, because
I
they're
wouldn't think
eligible.
so.
They're gonna
I
see
I don't think they can.
those that qualify under the current rules.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ramirez, I think what we must be most concerned about is the appeals process and who's going to be having the ultimate decision on that. I think that's what we have to look at.
so that's why they
The
should
appeals
stay with
process
the
where-
Health Services District. They would be able to help us out.
I think what we need
In
to
an
be
area like
concerned
that.
about is the 5 months where these folks that
Have
I
not gotten
see
service.
regularly with high blood pressure problems, with diabetic problems, with all kinds of chronic illnesses are left out of the loop because we run out of funds. 5 months out of the year, okay? They can't get their insulin, they can't get their medications for blood pressure, as we have currently done it, do not get it. They're out. You know, they're having to fend for themselves any way they can to be able to take care of themselves. 5 months, that's almost half of the year that
Okay.
those same recipients are not getting service.
Dr. Rivera?
Thank you very much. I apologize, but I must leave. I would like to end my conversation with the court in saying that the final resolution between the Health Services District and Idaho County Commissioners Court ended up in committing $900,000 to direct patient care from the tobacco fund. As you well know, tobacco funds are not necessarily geared or restricted to health services, but because the Health Services District, Idaho County Commissioners elected to pass a resolution to comply with our request to commit those funds, and that is, if nothing else, a successful Health Services District. I appreciate your effort, I appreciate your blood, sweat, and tears. I am no longer going to be part of the Health Services District after August 31st, but I welcome questions or calls from anyone who needs to answer some questions that I might be able to help with. Again, I apologize very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
And I have to wonder, David, you're talking about the 5 months where people don't get anything. Every year I've been here, we've scrounged additional money and gone to the state and got additional money for that period. What are we doing with it? I thought we were providing services to the indigent.
What happened, John, if you recall, is the law changed at the state level. It used to be that the pool, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Yvette, it used to be that the pool that we accessed at the state level was whoever got to it first, when it was available, could continue to draw down money.
And we've done that.
And we've done that. The law has changed. Now, according to the new legislative agenda that we were given, we can only draw down 10% of those monies into one county. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner, it is.
As a result,
But you're telling me that in the past, we've always run out and had
We
5
have
months,
run
we
out.
haven't taken care of
We
anybody.
have run
And
out.
I'm saying we've taken care of those people
We
with
have
additional
run out,
funding.
John.
I know we have.
You
That's
know-
why we've
you know,
taken
and I can
extra
tell
money
you-
and gone to the state and got this money back here to help continue taking care of them.
well, in the past, you know, historically, we've run out and providers have not been paid. You know, and that's a bottom line. Today, as it stands, providers are not being paid. You know, and I can attest to that. But now, we cannot access the numbers that we used to be able to access because there is a 10% limit on what we can get from the indigent fund at the state level, period. Once we get that 10%, it's over. This year, we got the 10%, and we're still out in 7 months.
So
We're running out of money.
One thing I want to clarify.
Wait, John asked a question.
Okay, but
We're out of money. It's getting toward the end of our fiscal year, and we're out of money. We spent the 10%, and we're not paying anyone else. Is that correct?
that's something that the auditor's office handles. Our office handles the
Right.
eligibility.
Right.
So Rob's up there.
And from what I understand from physicians that provide indigent health care year-round, whether they get paid or not, they end up getting paid based on whoever hollers the loudest at the auditor's office, as opposed to what, that's correct. The auditors told me that, the previous auditors told me that in the past.
They're also using, the way I remember it, they would use future dollars to pay past bills.
Past
So they're always
bills.
behind the eight ball.
And I think this 10% is 10% of the state amount as opposed to some other 10% that we're talking about, where used to, we were limited as to what we could bring in. 10% is a 10% of the state pool. We can't go beyond that, and I'm not sure that we ever went beyond that before. In fact, that may provide us additional monies.
Yes, we did.
As far as additional monies, Commissioner, Valley Baptist has committed to more financial dollars than what the state's 10%
That's on the
is.
UPL program, if they get it. Of course,
Yes,
they also,
and-
and it's not fair to say that they don't get paid anything when they stop getting paid, because I know that they provide, and they work with the Medicaid disproportionate share program, which the federal government funds them money for people who come into the emergency room and see them on emergencies. And you get a lot of that as the indigent also. We don't know how much they get. We don't know how much any of the hospitals get, or I don't. But it's a considerable amount of money that they
Yes.
recoup from past expenses that they've had.
Yes, and possibly, you may want to contact Valley Baptist. I know that I can get a hold of some financial figures that are historical, from 2003 possibly, that talk about the disproportionate share funds, and I can provide that to all the court members. But just also as a point of clarification, when I'm talking about Valley Baptist system in the future, if the court does go that direction, please keep in mind that it's the same providers that are currently providing services out there. It's not just the Valley Baptist entity that's going to be providing services. It's still the same physicians, the same specialists, the same hospitals. Everybody that's currently participating and has historically participated in the indigent health care program, Valley Baptist will continue to use them as providers as well.
That's what I
Let me just
understand.
clarify something. So, to summarize, the follow-up will be, you all will be continuing working with Valley Baptist. Keep in mind my strong
Yes,
comment.
Commissioner.
And I want feedback on that.
Absolutely.
Especially if there's any problems with it. And the other is the Valley Baptist people will be meeting with the Health Service District.
Yes, Commissioner.
Who's setting that meeting up?
I will work with setting that up.
Is it going to be before September 1, while they're still in existence?
Hopefully it's this week.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'm hoping you try to set that up this week if you can.
Yes.
No. Well, I don't know, you wanted to participate. I think it gives you the opportunity to ask some valid questions that you've asked me and us that we don't have the answers for. I think that this grievance committee or appellate committee that Commissioner Tamayo is suggesting, I wouldn't have a problem. If things don't go the way, as far as renewing the contract, you'd actually form another committee where I would welcome your participation in that committee in terms of the appeals process, if someone's been denied eligibility. But we'll go down that path later. But I want to make sure that Commissioner Benavidez' concerns regarding the number of eligibility was answered adequately for you.
I still believe that Valley Baptist wants to utilize all our funds. They're going to recoup some of their losses, but really and truly, our indigent population is not going to be fully satisfied. And I think we are in a position to negotiate that.
Well, isn't that what y'all are
Okay.
doing with the contract, negotiating?
Yes, Judge.
Yeah, but my question is, will they commit to see a certain amount, 2%, 1%, some
I don't-
sort of trying to communicate with us and to try, and they're the ones that are going to come out doing well with this.
I think their commitment should be that they are going to provide services to everyone that is eligible, whether it's 2% or 10% or whatever the number is. I think that's the commitment that this court, I'd like to see, that they're going to provide health care services to everyone that is eligible. And if they're not eligible, they're not eligible, whether it's 2% or 5%. I don't think that that's the issue, what the percentage is. The issue is everyone that is eligible going to be able to obtain health care services?
And keep in mind, Judge, Commissioners, that sometimes eligibility is based on the individual's, the applicant's participation in bringing, documents to the program. So it's just not a matter of Cameron County or Valley Baptist, attempting to make people eligible. The individuals, they play a vital role because without those documents, we are not able to make people eligible.
Am I simplifying this too much? To me, it's real clear. The two things that I want to see from Valley Baptist are these. Number one, that they do see every person that's eligible. And then that we the county, whether it's through health district, it's through a grievance committee or whatever, and I would certainly want, if we go with the grievance committee, some of the health district people on that grievance committee, that we have the last say-so on appeals. Those are my two main concerns. My two main concerns, and if they can bring the right answers to the table, I'd go with them, but that's the two things I'm going to look at.
Well, and I think, I agree totally with you, but I'd like to add one more.
Okay.
And that's year-round services for eligible participants of the program. Year-round, not
Well, to
7
me,
months.
saying that every eligible person be seen
Year-round.
means year-round.
Okay.
That to me would be common sense. So those are the things you have to really work on, Yvette, and legal. Okay. In my opinion, coming from me, and then I'd be satisfied.
I'll follow up with each court member and see what some of the concerns are and try to address them.
Yeah, and I think that that's important, just like Commissioner Tamayo and Commissioner Gatsa basically identified 2 or 3 areas of concern. I think you all need to identify specific areas of, specifically. I think being generic and saying, well, I think that we need to look at specific issues, and then hopefully be ready by next week. Touch base with everybody before the end of the day or tomorrow, and maybe provide those issues to Yvette and to legal in writing. This is what you're concerned about, and they're legitimate concerns. I mean, I think everyone wants to provide that, so.
I did provide them in written form. I even asked, will
We've got
there
a list
be a needs assessment done, like at the end of a year, to see what impact, the monies have had, maybe we need to address other issues or other needs of the community. And,
Okay, well, those,
Everything
I
was
believe
known.
that that's other stuff that can be factored into the contract. I don't, again, the purpose of this is to provide as much health care to everyone. It's not to fight, not to argue about how we do it better and how to build a better mousetrap. It's really to try to find out how we can do this. And I think that's a commitment, Father, and everybody else in the audience, that we have, from this court. We may have a different way of getting to it, but ultimately I think that is the goal that we all want to do. All right. We had a motion, a second, to table the item. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
One thing, Carlos, is keep a cool head and an open mind. If we just do that, all of us keep a cool head and an open mind, we'll come up with the best.
Or a cool mind and an open head, right? Okay. All right.
Put that in your notes.
I got it. All right. Motion is second to table. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Nay. 3?
nay.
Okay, 3-2. To table. Item 20. Item 20, consideration approval of health care services determination in regards to the Cameron County Indigent Care Affiliation Agreement. That's the one that's sort of kind of related with this?
Yes, Judge, please table that as well. Legal counsel and I are still trying to get in some information and work to.
Item 20?
Move to table, Judge.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Moving on to the regular part of the agenda, discussion, possible action on the resolution approving and setting effective dates for the newly established district courts. Commissioner Gatsa?
Judge, I asked Richard to put this item on the agenda in regards to the effective dates of establishing the new courts. I believe that it is not, I don't want to leave it up to someone in Austin to make a decision for us locally when these courts are established. I think we need to go on record saying that as we proceeded from the very beginning, that we wish to establish one district court, January of '09.
Which court would you like for that one to be? The general jurisdiction or the criminal?
General jurisdiction.
Okay, let me...
Which I think is what this court originally intended to do when we passed the resolution.
Actually, it was even more streamlined than that. It was going to be...
family court.
Half family court and balance.
Yeah,
so.
and we would like to make sure that our resolution includes that. I don't have a problem with that, John.
Well, let me hear a motion, and then we can do the other court as well? You want to do, or do you want to do both at the same time? Okay. Let me hear a motion then to draft a resolution that go to the governor's office, in regards to...
Well, I'd like for legal to draft it.
Okay, or legal, whatever.
Okay, the resolution that I presented to you has an error in the title. It says January 1, 2007. It should be 2009 in the title. But do you want a different order than what's before you?
No. Did you get that resolution?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
I didn't see it either.
I know I discussed it with you, but I didn't see it, Richard. You might want to read it.
Well, just for lengthy, I emailed two different copies, and basically, okay, I can explain it. Both orders are very similar. They first recite the fact that we have a resolution in place which supports the creation of two courts, but part of the resolutions that we did pass back in April states, and I've quoted it in this resolution, it states, whereas Cameron County supports the creation of these courts with the understanding that once created, the Commissioners Court will fund each court when deemed appropriate, so that we would know we had funding available. Then the legislature, cites authority of the legislature, and I'll generalize this, the Constitution of the State of Texas places in the hands of the legislature the authority to establish courts, to destroy courts, to set terms, sessions, to fund courts, so they have broad power. In this case, what the legislature has done, and what we recited in here, is both that they've established the 444th and the 445th courts under Articles 6 and 10 of Senate Bill 1951 under that authority. And then we've also recited that under House Bill 1, under the General Appropriations Bill, under their funding authority and their constitutional authority, they have stated, and this is important, they have stated in House Bill 1, this rider, which says no new district courts may be funded until it has been approved by the Commissioners Court of the county. Now, the problem is that I've talked to various and sundry state agencies. I've talked to the Comptroller's Office, the AG's office, and I've talked to TAC and to David Brooks on these issues. And the problem is as to what they mean is what, I mean, you've got, on the one hand, you've got a Senate Bill 1951 that says that these two courts are effective when the bill is signed, or September 1 for our purposes. Then you've got the House Bill 1 that says you can't fund them until a Commissioner's Court approves them. As we speak, I've talked with the Comptroller's Office, and they have some concern about this, and they have indicated they're going to seek an AG's opinion as to which, to use their words, which trumps the other. I've suggested to them that neither need trump the other, that they have separate purposes. One purpose was to establish the court. That would be 1951 under the constitutional authority, and then you have under the funding authority, the legislature limited the funding, which has been signed by the governor, limited the funding to when approved by the Commissioner's Court, which has the effect of not being an unfunded mandate. In other words, this court being able to fund it when they have funds available. Incidentally, our auditor said it's going to cost about $1.4 million a year to fund both courts. So, after talking to everybody, after looking at the law behind it, ultimately, it's going to be resolved either by the AG's office or one of these agencies as to how they're going to treat what they view as a conflict between Senate Bill 1951 and House Bill 1. However, as it currently exists, House Bill 1 has told this body, the Commissioners Court, that you have the authority to approve the funding, and that the courts will not, that the court, and to use the exact wording, I don't want to vary here, that no new district courts may be funded until have been approved by the Commissioners Court of the county. Now, that is obviously, and I confirmed it with Representative Oliveira's office, that provision was directed to the state controller, not to the Commissioners Court, because you're obviously not going to fund the court until you have the funds available or until you're ready to fund it. But the idea was, the reason that was put in there was so that there wouldn't be a court established and a person either elected or appointed and then be paid by the controller and no place to go until funded by this court. Where this ends up, I don't know, but the one control you have is simply to follow what the mandate of House Bill 1 says and to fund it. Now, I pointed out one more thing, and that is House Bill 1 simply says you have the authority to approve or not approve. I would argue that that inherently gives you the right to say the date you'll fund it, but I can't guarantee that that's how a legislative body will view it down the road. They may say all you have authority to do is approve or not approve, and it's statutorily effective September 1. If that's the ultimate termination that comes down from the AG's office, then if you have your budget in place, someone's going to have to make the choice of whether to fund the courts or not.
Well, and even if it does come down from the AG's office, don't we have the district court option, though?
Don't you have one?
Can't we go to district court, or can
yes,
we,
you can go for declaratory relief,
right?
But you'd have to probably file. You can go for declaratory judgment. If we file it, we would probably have to file it in Travis County, because it would be against the controller's office about funding. It would be, in other words, we'd be alleging that you're violating House Bill 1 provision because you're funding an office before we've approved it. Now, that's where it is. In a lot of aspects, it's a practical decision. You've got to come up with $1.4 million if you want to fund it immediately, plus construction costs in place and a place for the new courts.
The $1.4 million does not take into consideration the housing of the court. The $1.4 million is just the operational aspect of the two courts.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct. So I drafted an order, and then I added the if and only if language, if you see, in the order, in the one I ultimately drafted, which is consistent with what I discussed with you all by email, or sent you by email. I've got both orders. I also have the order without the if and only if language, or just...
Which one did we get?
That's the number. That's the last one. If you look at the bottom, it says, now therefore be it ordered by the Commissioners Court of Cameron County.
On the second page.
Well, it's both pages. The bottom of the first page. That the 444th Court, Cameron County, Texas, is approved by authority of House Bill 1, Section 4, but if and only if the first day of the office is January 1, 2009. The other order says, instead of if and only, it simply says effective January 1, 2009.
2011.
And you'd have to change the...
Well, that's the second page.
one.
The second page is 2011.
Yeah.
13th day of August instead of 14th, right?
Excuse me?
Why do we go with if and only?
Excuse me?
What was your rationale for if and only?
Well, in language, if you say if and only if, there's no exception to that. You're saying you're approving it if and only if. If you say effective a certain date, if the AG's office were to say that the only authority that House Bill 1 gives you is when to approve it, and the effective date is set by the statute, and that's going to trump when you just say effective date. So what I'm trying to convey is that your approval is if and only if the beginning date is, and otherwise subject your approval to that being your approval date. Now, see, the problem with doing that, there's an alternative. You can do nothing, because the House Bill 1 says that that once you approve it, or that the funding is subject to your approval. If you don't do anything, then you haven't approved anything. But the problem with that is, you've got to start a process. If it's going to be effective, if the first court's going to be effective 2009, January 1, then people are going to be filing over the next several months for that office, and they'll run in the primary and the general election next year, and under the natural sequence of events, you'll fund it in your next budgetary year, October next year, for 9 months. And then in 2010 and 11, the same process. So it's kind of hard if you don't give some direction, if you don't say what you want done by some kind of resolution, then it's just out there, and you don't know what's going to happen. So I mean, you have an alternative to do nothing, but I'm not sure that's good for the reasons I just stated.
And you'd have to change the date to 13th day.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can correct that, I can print it out, but when I redid the title, it says, yes, correct.
So with this resolution, anybody willing to run for this office has to file on or before January 1st, 2008.
They would have, yes, whatever the filing deadline is, if that's it, I didn't...
January 1st or 2nd, whatever that day is, to win in March or November and then take office January 1st of 2009.
That's what this resolution perceives, yes, sir.
With the exception of correcting the year on the top area there to 2009 and the date on the second page to the 13th of August, I would move that we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Wood to adopt the resolution with the noted corrections and modifications. Second by Commissioner Benavides. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Consent items and travel items. Are there any items any member of the court wish to take out and discuss separately? Hearing and sensing none, do I hear a motion to approve consent items 3 through 12 and travel items 13A through 13G?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Executive session, we have one item. Deliberation, do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Benavides, to discuss deliberation regarding real property concerning the lease of land at Andy Bowie Park for a hotel concession with Affiliated Management, Inc. pursuant to Code Section 551.072 and 551.071-2. To come out of executive session by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Garza. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to acknowledge report of counsel?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Discussion?
Should we not briefly discuss our intent in regards to how we would like to proceed on this item publicly?
Yeah, we can do that.
I would appreciate a little discussion just to make sure that we're all on the same, an acknowledged report is fine, but...
we had one of the issues the only issue came out of executive session was the possibility of leasing land to a potential hotel developer. It was a consensus of the court to make sure that we aptly notify interested parties such as the Savings La Blanca Park folks, the Spirit Group at the island, anything to convey better information so that there are any issues or concerns about this potential project, they're voiced early on. What you do? Okay. And the purpose of that obviously is we don't want the same thing to happen that happened last year regarding the Isla Blanca Park issues. So we want to make sure, and the court, again, as a consensus, wants everybody to know what the potential plans are. We want them to provide input to the court or to the park director in terms of any issues regarding to the potential development of the Andy Bowie Park area. So with that, we've asked Javier Mendez to let the Parks Board know, let members of the Spirit Group and the Sevis La Blanca Park people what our thoughts are, what our intentions are, what we'd like to do, and express any concerns to us, as soon as I hear about this or in writing, so that we can begin to evaluate those concerns.
Well, Judge, even though we do need to clarify one thing, in the past, we had public hearings, we had open meetings where we discussed the project that ended up being so controversial. It's not that we were not open about it. This time, what we're doing is we're going to them, rather than just publicizing it and then letting anyone that reads it or comes to our meetings comment on it. We're going to them. And I think, I commend this court for doing that, because we don't have to do that. But we're doing it because we're going the extra mile.
Be proactive in
Yeah,
making
we're being
sure that
proactive.
we have the involvement of the public.
Correct. Any other comments? Okay. I think that all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 16, budget amendments, line item transfers and/or salary schedules.
Judge and Commissioners, I had emailed the budget amendments to you on Friday, but I placed one in front of you because there is one additional at the very end regarding the parks. Last week, the court directed, the departments that were submitting budget amendments to be present, both to present or to answer any questions in relation to the budget amendments. There are some on here that I initiated, so I'll address those, or I'm not sure how the court actually wants to handle this, since this is the first week we're doing
Well,
it.
let's start off with elections first and have someone explain the almost doubling of mobile phones and that stuff.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning, County Judge. The budget amendment that I submitted was, yes, indeed, for bringing bringing the amount in the budget to cover the cost of the phones that we use and the air cards that we use for our voting. The phones and the cards are used about 7 to 8 months a year, and I had placed on the agenda a $19,000 line item for the mobile phones, maybe it was an error on my part putting $19,000 only on there, because I was probably not thinking about my air cards and the cost of those.
Your air cards?
The air cards, or the cards that we use in the laptops to communicate with our system when we have elections. Okay? And so, at the end of this fiscal year, I would be about $17,000 over in that particular line item. What I was trying to do is trying to take care of it right now, instead of waiting for the end of the fiscal year, which we're almost at, to take care of that line item.
Did you also then under budget or over budget your postage as well? That's where it's coming from.
It's coming out of the postage, and the postage, we were going to be doing a mail-out this year, because this year is when we do all of our mail-out for the new cards, and we start making preparations for that. What we do is we do a massive mail-out on that. The other mail-out that we were planning on doing this summer was a mail-out to all of those accounts that we did not, all of those voter registrants that didn't have a physical address on them. There's a lot of addresses with a rural route, and we've had problems with that for years. And we've been doing that once every so often. We do a mail-out of that and try to take care of some of those accounts. Now, that's to work on our street indexing. Our street indexing now has been practically completed, and so we're not doing any mail-out this year on that. But, and the expense for our cards, or the new cards, will have to come until probably December of this year. And so, there's going to be excess money in that postage line item.
When you submitted your budget, the new budget that's coming up,
yes,
did you submit $36,400 for mobile phones and $30,600 for postage, or did you come back at those higher numbers?
No, I came back, well, my new budget that was submitted would be to cover the cost of the air cards and the mobile, or the phones, at the cost that we found that we needed. And, as far as the postage is concerned, we ended up with a high postage because we are going to be doing that mail out on the cards this coming December. So we did have that extra money in that other line item.
But you will be covered for the upcoming year.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's no temporary way to deal with air cards?
I'm sorry?
Is there any temporary way to deal with the air cards?
No.
You have how many, about 90 or so, or how many air cards do you have?
We have 30 air cards, and yes. And when we got into the air cards for the laptops, there was no way we could do for example, we don't use the air cards, let's say, in September, August, or July. There's no way to discontinue that service and then bring it back up again, okay? I mean, I had asked that from the representative when we acquired those cards, and that could not be done. So it has to be a continuous service.
So you have to get it into a contract?
We had to get into a contract with the company. We use Sprint, and we had to get into a contract with Sprint to use the air cards for our laptops that we use during elections. And we do have elections, or we do need the service 7 months to 8 months out of the year. This coming year, it'll be 7 months that we're going to be needing that service, so the phones and the air cards.
Roger, would it be possible, and I'm just kind of throwing this out, for other departments to use the air cards when you're not using them? Would there be any additional cost, or is it a flat rate per month?
It's a flat rate per month, and we do allow other departments to use it. We have had requests from other departments to use it for a couple of weeks, or 2 or 3 weeks, a month, however they need it. We also use some of those cards to provide the programmer analyst that helps us during elections. That person will take one with them, and we're in contact 24 hours if we need to. Let's say something happens at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we can communicate and send forms and so forth during the time, and it has happened. So we use some of our cards for that. Right now, Commissioner, I might let you know that last Friday, we canceled 10 of those cards, which is going to save us some of that money. We're not going to be, and maybe I was a little too quick in doing that, because like I said, we do use some of those cards for some of these other people that help us during elections. But in order to cut costs down, we've done that. Those are cards that we won't be using, or we're not using, and we started that a year ago when we were anticipating adding 10 additional laptops to our department.
So then this number should be less then?
Yes, sir.
Or will be less next year?
Will be less next year, and it will be less because, as I understand it, in meeting with the phone representative last Friday, Javier and Mike Forbes and myself and one of his staff members, we met with them, and it seems like the plan that they're working for the county will reduce our costs by about 1/3, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Any other questions on that specific budget amendment? Any questions on any other budget amendments? Do I hear a motion to approve
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Roger. Budget amendments, line item transfers. There are no salary schedules. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 17, approval of county claims. Any question from anyone on the county claims?
Anything else?
Do I hear a motion by Commissioner Gatsa? Do I have a second by Commissioner Tamayo? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 18, discussion and possible action regarding the fiscal year 2007-2008 budget.
Judge and Commissioners, I passed out an updated summary of the current status There's some slight changes in both the revenues and expenditures. On the revenues, it was...
This is the new one?
Yes.
The latest? There's no changes on this one? Your changes from this one
This is as of...
to the prior one that you submitted, right?
Yes.
But let me ask you, before we do this, I would like to, we had some lengthy discussion last week regarding the revenues. If you could provide the other revenues that we're talking about in the general fund, the 26 million, if you can do an actual 2006 and a budget 2007, and if you could tell us where we are on a year-to-date actual on the other revenues.
Okay.
Okay?
My line item?
By line item, see where where the shortfalls are, and then getting with Rob and see if there's any other place where we can, let me ask you on the delinquent tax, the way this came up was I was thinking the other day about the delinquent tax, how we asked the delinquent tax attorneys to come up with was it a minimum, delinquent tax collection? It was like a couple of points higher than what they were doing. Do anybody remember that?
I remember the discussion took place, yes.
Remember, I think part of the benchmarks that we did when we approved the contract was for them to basically guarantee, I forgot what the percentage was. Anybody remember? 94, 90, hello? Remember?
I thought it was
94%. I'm sorry?
94.
What?
94?
Was it, I don't remember if it was 94% or 95, but we may want to look at that number and see how that differs from what you're budgeting, okay?
Yeah, currently, the delinquent collections are higher than they were last year.
So they're already higher?
Already, on a tenth of a percentage point, but it does make a difference. But they're still, they finish September, so they're still, I don't have the numbers for August yet. This is through July for August, and of course, they're still collecting in September. And it has I guess, kind of an offsetting effect. You're on the receivable that we have. The receivable balances has dropped, and the estimated balance for the end of this fiscal year. So in that particular line item, since they're collecting, say, at a higher percentage rate, the estimated balance for the coming fiscal year is lower. So you're collecting more in current and less in delinquent, but it's, fractions of a percentage between the two line items.
So it's not a big number?
Not at this point, but like I said, this is when they're focusing their major activity, so it could be higher. The only problem is I won't have August until September, the beginning part of September, as to their actual collections. I guess I could get it from the tax office to date, but what I have right now is through the end of July.
Okay. If you could do that we can see. Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Javier.
That's quite all right. And so there's a little bit difference in the revenues because of that, and also a match on a grant. On the expenditure side, it's a little bit higher because I did receive or not I, but the next month's bill for utilities for the Levi's building came in, and it's a little bit lower, but it's still high, so I had to increase that budget by $75,000. So this is the most current. What I'm not showing here, have pulled out, based on discussions with legal last week, on the savings side, was the magistrates, the discussion on the magistrates.
Well, I think we have to leave those in. My understanding is that we cannot eliminate those positions without going.
Right,
so.
I don't, they're included in the expenditures, they're not in the possible.
Well, apparently, what I was told by legal was that because it was a legislative issue, that we could not eliminate them. We can adjust the compensation, is what I understand, but we can't eliminate the actual position, but you can't take them down like to zero.
Because they're, appointed by the district and county courts of law.
So that $160,000 that we had, it goes back into the pot, so we can't do anything with that. We may want to look at maybe doing something legislatively next time, but for now, I don't think we can do anything. I think that's a duty that the JP should be doing on a rotating basis and not magistrates.
Well, what if we do part-time for them? And that would-
We're already part-time.
Well, even more so.
Yeah.
And then have the JPs fill in.
Well, that's something that we can look at, to reduce that, but again, I don't know how they're accounting for their time, but the JPs need to, need to do 1 week, 1 week, whatever it is, every 9 weeks, they can do 1 week or something.
What are we supposed to be getting now with the services provided?
I'm not sure, I have not, I'm not sure how many days they're supposed to be covering or not covering.
7 days a week,
Yeah, there's 7 there,
365 days a year.
What's that, Trey?
7 days a week, 365 days a year covered.
7 days a week?
Yes.
365 days a
That's
year.
what I'm-
And I don't know if that's occurring or not, I don't know. The sheriff's
In the
office
morning
was
and in
here.
the afternoon. Yeah, the sheriff's office.
Morning and afternoon?
And afternoon. They come in the morning and do some arraignments, and then they come in the
So they
afternoon.
go
and do
7 days a week then?
That's
Yes.
my understanding, yes.
7 days.
But is it 8 hours a day?
No, it's not 8 hours a day.
Oh, okay.
They do a block in the
They're there.
morning and a block in the afternoon.
Okay. Sheriff, good morning.
Good morning, Judge, and good morning, Commissioners. Yes, they're there on a constant basis. One judge is there early in the morning, and the other one is in the afternoon, and Saturdays and Sundays. So they do a lot of work because we get some of these people out, and it keeps us from getting overcrowded at the jail. So it's been working great for us at the present time, Judge.
Okay, thanks. Okay, go ahead, Javier.
And I'm not sure, what also is not listed here, I don't know if you want to address the auto theft. I don't have it here right now as far as...
The sheriff and I met last week, and we found a memorandum of understanding that went back to 1992 when the initial program was initiated. And it was back then, and I know the sheriff was not aware of that, and I'd forgotten that we even had an MOU. But what it was an agreement with the sheriff's office. I think I sent you all that, an agreement with the then sheriff to provide 24/7 surveillance at Gateway, and I think the budget for that was like $162. And that was a direct, and we need to understand that the supplement was apart from back then and even now, was a separate issue from the existing budget of the supplement. And so when the sheriff and I talked, we decided that he's going to work on a memorandum of understanding, tell us what we need in order to provide surveillance on the bridges. The Los Indios Bridge did not come into the flow, just supposed to be at that time veterans and the Gateway. I asked him to give me a proposal also on providing services to Los Indios and see how much that would cost. The sheriff also offered to pay the dispatcher or dispatchers that he was currently asking for out of his forfeiture money. So as of now, that $500,000 or maybe less, depending on what schedule they work out, is going to come back to us, and that way it's a budget neutral thing as we speak right now. I will tell you that going by the last several days, and some of the calls that I've received from people, they were not real happy having to wait in line a whole lot, but they appreciated your officers being there. And I got several comments at a function yesterday that they were glad to see him there. And I know Commissioner Gatsa, I think, has received something similar.
I did too.
Commissioner Tamayo, too. It just gives them a sense of security having a uniformed officer there. So, Sheriff, thank you very much for putting your folks
So
out.
we're looking at all three bridges would be...
He's going to give us a proposal. See, the $500,000, well, there's two separate budgets. The $300 and some odd thousand, the big one, was for Gateway. The other one that we share with the city of Brownsville, almost the same amount of money, right? About $324, $350, was also, but that's only open, it's not open 24 hours. There was no proposal that I could see for the Los Indios Bridge, and I asked him to come up with a schedule, if we could do that, maybe during peak times, or I don't know, but I think that the main bridges, I believe, were Veterans and Gateway. My understanding is the city of Brownsville was supposed to be taking care of the B&M. Whether they are or they're not, I don't know, but I'd like to take care of at least Cameron County's own bridges.
And at the very initial, Judge, we're taking care of 3 bridges without realizing that only 2 are the ones that we were supposed to do in it.
Right.
However, we did a discussion with you. We now, according to Javier, what we worked out, we do have almost 24 hours as far as the 2 bridges are concerned. We do go by the Los Indios Bridge on peak hours and swing by there, but we're working that proposal that you requested, and I think we'll come up with something that is going to be agreeable to everybody else. Like I stated to you in the meeting, I did discuss with Jose Galvan, the rector of the B&M Bridge, because we had noticed previously, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, and then Chief of Police Brown has done a great job, that we had seen that there were no people out there, so it made it a little difficult for us to really, work all 4 bridges, and that is a private bridge. I did never hear from him again, however, at the present time, we go back, we are taking care of the 2 bridges that we're supposed to.
We need to try to work with Joe again, ask him if he's willing to maybe subsidize a program, help us fund a program on that particular bridge and work with the city of Brownsville as well. I think, I thought then, I think now, it's a good endeavor. I think it's worthwhile to do something like that. So one of the issues we also talked about is to make sure that we begin, I know that the sheriff said he had a training program, but we need to make sure that all those auto theft officers are, in speaking to folks, I said that there's some certifications that they can obtain and things of that nature. I'd like to see them, factor into your budget, training monies to make sure that they're trained and certified in auto theft and whatever these certifications are that the city of Brownsville said that they had. So, but I appreciate your comments.
Okay, we're working on that, and certainly some of these officers are trained to an extent, but there's always new training, techniques that come up, and certainly we'd like to keep up with that as far as that goes. And can I set up a meeting with Joe Galdan, and you and I can...
Be more than happy to. If you want me to attend,
and then we'll go there and talk to him?
Sure.
All right, and any of the commissioners...
And maybe you may want to have a proposal with you, and maybe work with the Chief of Garcia, and maybe y'all can coordinate where they take on half-time, we take on half-time, but at the same time, ask Joe to consider some financial assistance for us.
Oh, we'll do that, and I'll talk to Chief Garcia, and perhaps all 3 of us can go out there and sit down with Joe, and perhaps we can come up with a solution.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Go ahead, Javier.
So before you, the only thing that's still there is the possible savings on the auto allowance, which part of it would have to be addressed during tomorrow's meeting when setting the compensation for the elected officials. The tax rate on this is still on the top part of the effective rate, and the expenditures, and what this is showing, if we were to realize the estimated 30% savings in the auto allowance, of a deficit at the effective rate of almost $174,000. What I have here is still the certified totals at our current tax rate with the same split. On the 3rd page here, it does have the different scenarios, the effective, the current, and then with a penny being reduced in the general fund. Let's cut off one page. And then also reducing the general fund by 1 cent and transferring half a cent over to the road and bridge, and what the effect would be on that. Going back to the 1st page, what I guess I need direction on is the priorities, I guess, in an order of what the court wishes to accomplish of all these requests. And I have these based on the discussions on the top ones, which would be the $1,000 across the board increase, the $8 per hour, and then some of the items as far as the jail overtime, the maintenance projects, and possibly the pre-census budget. Any of this can be reorganized, but going based on the current tax rate to the far right corner, that tells you, after doing those items, what's left, which is $341,000. And then you have all the items below that. Of course, there's not sufficient to cover all of that, but I would need to know in which order or what priorities the court wishes to address that. And granted, I'll still be meeting with Mr. Sepulveda, and I guess in looking for additional savings or cuts, but based on the total that's here, I don't foresee a way to accomplish all of this with our current tax rate.
Well, the amount that the 2.4 million is the revenue at the current rate.
Correct.
Right?
On the current split.
Right. And if you follow this...
Where are you?
Right here.
Right where it says certified totals?
Okay, yes.
Okay. If we follow that, and I like the way you good idea, Javier, to show this way. If we go, obviously, I think the court's always maintained that we want to pay the employees first.
Right.
And that factors in, if you do the $1,389,000, that leaves us a balance of $825,196. The other, and then we've budgeted $265,000 for overtime. As you saw, one of the budget amendments, it had where we were already at $389,000, I think, is what it was in overtime. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't know if the 265 is going to be sufficient, but nothing was budgeted last year. I mean, but like a couple of $1,000 or something. And I think that we need to budget more jail overtime. Maintenance projects, anyway, if you come down, then you get to the far to the right, you have $341,595. But once you take out the commissioner's reserves out, transferring the road and bridge monies over to general fund, our balance is $173,109. That is what we have right now, unless you can find some other revenues or you can find other areas to cut.
Right.
That is what we have available to distribute. And if you look down and if you take away the $1.4 million that we just took away from the district courts, when you come down to the bottom, all the way down to the bottom, that $1,947,510 deficit is now $547,000 deficit. So we're still in a deficit position, assuming we fund what we talked about, the constables and JPs, county clerk, et cetera, et cetera.
At the effective rate?
No, at the current rate. So this doesn't even include being able to transfer a half a penny to road and bridge or a penny. So we're still in a deficit position. So I think that one thing that we talked, and we don't have to, obviously we're not going to do it today, but at some point in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we have to decide, and we ought to do it item by item. In other words, this is how much money we got available, and the court's going to have to prioritize how we want to do that. But I like Pete, I think you still need to get with Javier and need to go to these big departments and say, you know what, you need to cut some slots. I mean, that's where the biggest chunk of savings is going to be, unless they have other stuff in there that, you know, that we can do. And they may have to, again, defer, like, for instance, and I'm not picking on anybody, but some of these juvenile probation or county clerk, or, you know, if they can fill that need, like the manager in San Benito, somehow that's $30,000. You know, we're going to have to decide, is that really a critical part? Well, if it is, then we're going to have to eliminate, you know, some secretarial positions for the constables, or bring in their part-time people to full-time in the JPs. So, I mean, that's the only way we're going to balance this. Now, and again, I encourage any member of the court to come up with some suggestions or recommendations in terms of either revenue increases or expenditure cuts, you know, to do this. Or else we're not going to make it, or we're going to have to decide what we're going to pay here. I think that the jail slots of $1,000, that's something that we need to look at, and maybe
Judge, that includes, you know, we also include the jail slots on the 1,000 salary increase, right?
Yes.
Right?
No.
Well, the 1,000, yes, not the 2,000.
Well, but the jail slots that we're talking about, that's the extra $1,000.
Which would in essence be $2,000 for that position.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
I wanted to make sure we clarify.
That's right, that's correct. Yeah, everybody's getting $1,000 across the board, and if we decide to take the jailers an extra $1,000, that's a $312. But again, if you do that, then it pretty much eliminates everything. We won't have any money left over to do any of the other positions that are there, as we've talked about. And least of all, cut the tax rate by a penny or transfer half a penny to road and bridge. Javier, I'm still a little suspect in terms of we're only going to realize a 30% savings. I mean, it's $72,000. It's a lot of money.
It's conservative, because, and that's just looking at, I guess, how can I say this? Looking at certain auto allowances where I suspect the full amount of savings will be realized, whereas in others, you may have some percentage of it, but maybe not the whole amount, because they, of course, still be eligible to request reimbursement for usage of their personal vehicles.
But again, for departments that have vehicles within their fleet, why can't they not utilize, schedule those vehicles a little bit better, so then there is no, the need for mileage reimbursement is minimized? Have you looked at that, or are you just giving?
No, I will have that for tomorrow's meeting, because that will be addressed, I guess, in setting the compensation. For most department heads, there are few that receive an auto allowance. Most of them have a vehicle available to them and use it.
Okay.
The other ones, it's a smaller auto allowance, but yeah.
Okay, you may continue.
Okay. The road and bridge one, of course, hasn't changed much. There's, that one is pretty standard. As I mentioned on the third page is just the combinations between the tax rates. Of course, depending on what the court wants to do, is what we can do with the tax rate. I have another one, but it didn't show up on here, and I'll forward that to you this afternoon. I'm currently working on the proposed budget to be filed with the county clerk, and my goal is to balance it. These items here are items that the court will address as far as approving or not approving, so the final budget will be...
Each penny is 1.6 million?
1.2.
1.2?
1.2.
So if we want to reduce the tax rate by a penny, we're in the hole then by, is that right?
147?
1.7.
Yeah, 1.7.
I guess, to clarify, because the media is here, we wouldn't be in the hole. You could do that and stop right now. You wouldn't be able to do the across-the-board increase or any of these other items.
That's right, that's right.
So with the budget that we have right now...
I'm talking about
with the
this.
Yes, and reducing the penny, it could be done, but, we'd stop. You wouldn't be able to do anything else. Well, minor things, but...
We wouldn't do any of this, that's
Correct.
what you're saying.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Any further discussion? Do I hear motion to acknowledge Mr. Villarreal's report?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 19 has already been tabled. Item 20 has been tabled. Item 21, consideration and approval of interlocal agreement between Texas Associated of Counties and Cameron County for the administration of Cameron County health benefits for September 1st, 2007 through August 31st, 2008.
Judge, Commissioners, at the request of Mr. Villarreal and our health consultant, they've asked for an additional week to negotiate.
So put on for the 21st?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have motion to table?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Discussion?
Yes, this is not going to compromise enrollment and things of that nature by waiting a week?
They feel that it shouldn't, they feel that they should be on track.
Okay.
They're working out that as we speak.
Okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 22, approval of negotiated Cameron County health benefits for RFP 070602, TAC and Cameron County for review, discussion, and approval. Same thing?
Same
To
thing.
table? Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo, to table for 1 week. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 23, consideration approval of the color scheme for the Boys and Girls Club unit at Santa Rosa.
Judge, Commissioners, we have David Mendez here. He's going to present the color schemes. And again, they meet the standard color that we're using in all the community parks. They're different from what we had on the island.
Judge, Commissioners, this is the exterior elevation of the Santa Rosa Boys and Girls Club. The metal panel is going to be a colonial red. The block will be painted a beige. The base on the bottom will be matching the metal panel on top, and then we have a Gabaloon panel. As far as the interior colors, we have accent stripes in the gym, which would be a maroon, a yellow, and a blue, and then the off-white on the inside. These are the sports flooring samples,
I don't see any burnt orange anywhere.
Maroon?
I think what we were doing is matching,
Yeah.
we were matching what was out there already.
Did you have anything to do with this? You know, we have an Aggie as a county administrator. Well, the community was asking if you were gonna go with their colors, you know, the Warriors.
Which is,
And I think it's what, yellow and something.
what color are their colors? I don't know.
Yellow and, what is it?
On the accent stripes, we do have a yellow and a blue. That'll be going in the gym.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the sports flooring would be the beige. This would be the accent colors for the striping.
I don't like maroon.
I don't either.
I mean, there's few things that we can influence as commissioners, okay, as you all well know. And I think a color would be one that I'd like to be involved with.
Yeah, I'd like
to be involved? Let me assign Commissioner Gatsa to be involved in the colors.
I mean, I'd like to see a different color brought to it.
Yeah,
Nothing personal or anything.
It's in my precinct, so I'd like,
It is.
I'd like to get some people from the community involved.
This is on the. I defer to you.
Well, you join me.
Is that on
Can we
the
do that?
interior?
No, the outside too.
On the outside too?
Yeah.
Is it a less expensive paint or color?
Or do you have some left over?
No, there's other samples. The only thing is, we need to order the metal panels. They're gonna start erection in about a couple of weeks, so they need to order the metal panels and the roof for the
Maroon
building.
is normally a cheaper color, I would think. Would you like to,
Well, I'd like to.
you want to get lots of it
To
around?
make the
Yeah,
decision
let's,
that they're.
can we hold a meeting, Friday afternoon, or is that too late? Did you have to do it earlier?
If possible, earlier.
You would?
No, y'all can do it
Yeah,
on Friday. You can do it Friday. I mean,
It's on the agenda for next.
what's it gonna delay? Have it Friday, have it on the
We don't
agenda.
need it
Yeah,
on the
we can-
agenda if we defer. I don't know if anybody has a problem with deferring to
Yeah, and we
them
can,
making the decision.
in fact, I can get together with you this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay?
That'll
Let's
be
do that.
fine.
Okay, do I hear a motion to, what's gonna be a motion? Approve the color scheme subject to Commissioner Tamayo's
And
and her committee's, recommendation?
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Tamayo.
Yeah, second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Last item, discussion and possible action regarding the county, state, and federal legislative agenda. Nothing. Move to table.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood. Do I have a second? By Commissioner Tamayo. To table the item. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Tamayo. Do I have a second?
So moved.
By Commissioner Gatsa. All those in favor, signify by
Javier.
saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries or adjourned. God save this honorable court.
What time?
David, get David.
Shane.
Good afternoon. This is a regular meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court, Tuesday, the 14th day of August, occasioned by John Phillips, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to ask our three judges, Judge Nelson, Judge Alejandro, and Judge Robles, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and to the Texas flag.
Our Heavenly Father, we love you and thank you that you have given us the privilege of leading this community. And I pray, Father, for our commissioners, for the county commissioners, that you would give them wisdom, knowledge, and discernment in leading our county. And Father, I pray that your will would be done in each of the decisions that is made. May our decisions not be made with selfish intent, but may they be made, Father, to help those that you put under us to oversee. Father, we thank you for your watch care over us. We thank you for the safety that you've given to our commissioners. We pray for their families, that you'd protect them. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Judges?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, indivisible. Okay, finally someone knows the words. Thank you, Judge. I don't have anybody that signed up for public comment, but is anybody in the audience would like to make a public comment? Item number 2, presentation and/or resolution items. Item number 2, consideration authorization for the presentation of a check from AEP, Jerry Don Wilson, in the amount of $1,500 for the sign at the Laguna Heights Bejarano McFarland Memorial Park. Jerry? Joe?
I told Jerry Don that anytime he brought a check to Commissioner's Court, we would put him at the first at the top of the agenda.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Judge, Commissioners, Jerry Don Wilson with AAP Texas is here today. He's going to present a check for $1,500. And this check is for the new sign, the new Bejarano McFarland Memorial County sign that we put at the park, which the park was formerly known as the Laguna Heights Recreational Park. I just want to say that AEP has been a great partner to Cameron County. Since the construction of the park, they have contributed $15,500. That's including this check. Not only that, they contributed $25,000 for the restoration efforts of the Bahia Grande, and they have just committed $10,000 for the new Laureles Recreational Park. They've been a great partner, and I'd like to thank AEP, Jerry Don Wilson, for their great support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry Don.
Thank you, Joe. Judge, and also Commissioners, thank you very much. Y'all have been a great partner with us, with Cameron County, and we've enjoyed every minute of it. And we will continue to be a partner with you, and whatever parks or anything that you need, that as long as it's nonprofit, we will work with you on that, as long as I've got the funds. The funds run out pretty quick, but just talk to me and we'll work from there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For those of y'all that have not had the opportunity to go to that park, it's a beautiful little park. It's probably the nicest one that I've seen in our system. And Joe, I want to thank you publicly and Javier and your folks for developing and spearheading that park. Commissioner Gatsa was instrumental in the development of that park, and I want to thank him also publicly for doing that. But it's a good job, and let's continue with those endeavors.
One thing I wanted to say about Javier and Joe, I've worked with them. I've been here 7 years down there in the valley, and I've worked with these folks for 6 years, and they've been wonderful. They have taught me a lot in this area, and they've showed me areas that is well needed, that needed help, and that's what we're here for, is to help the underprivileged folks, and we will continue to do that. Thank you very much. Do I hear?
Can we do a presentation?
Sure. How do you want to do that? Let me do an acknowledgement. Do I hear motion to acknowledge? Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second by Commissioner Wood? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item 3, consideration and authorization to hold a public hearing regarding the setting of elected official salaries for 2007-2008 fiscal year. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing? Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Benavides. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. We're in a public hearing.
Judge and Commissioners, as required by statute, this public hearing was posted in the newspaper, giving the public an opportunity to voice their concerns or their comments regarding the posted salaries, which will be addressed in the next item. So, if there's anyone.
Anybody from the public? Do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gatsa, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item 4, consideration and action regarding the setting of elected officials' compensation. Commissioner Gatsa.
Judge, I would like to move that we approve what we had before us at the previous meeting in regards to the salaries for the publicly elected officials.
As posted in the newspaper?
As posted in the newspaper, with the only caveat that is not in the listing in the newspaper is one in which our district judges and county court at law judges had a car allowance in place for their compensation package. And as part of that, I would like to move that we do away with the car allowance for the district judges and the county court at law judges and increase their salaries by the same amount, which would put them at what their request had been previously to this court, and eliminate any opportunity for criticism, if I might say, in regards to their compensation package and in regards to a car allowance associated with that package. This way, we would be in compliance with the state statutes, and everyone would have their allowance not depending on a commissioner's court that can change with time, but depending on the position of the office that they hold. So, move to approve.
That's your motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wood. Do I have a second by Commissioner Gatsa? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. God save this honorable court.